Hi, everyone, and thank you, Avital, for the invitation and introduction. So, I will talk about ausARTen, Perspektivwechsel durch Kunst, Change of Perspectives Through Art, which is an initiative by the Münchner Forum für Islam. I will get to all these different names of organizations. I thought I would start with the posters and placards we had throughout the years. Some of them are really, really old, from like 2016, 2018, and some are more recent. As you see, we have different topics, different themes, also from the type of colors we use and also the topics. I want to point out that ausARTen is an ongoing process. We started very small, and we are still every year figuring out again what are we doing and where we want to go. For example, we had in 2020 a Transalpine festival, which was between Vienna, Zurich, and Munich. Was going for a whole month. We also had a Jewish Muslim Feminist Festival in March 2020, which was only in Munich and only for one weekend. And last year in November 2023, you see here on the left side with the green and blue, was the last festival we did. So how did ausARTen actually start? Where do we come from? So the original was not a festival; it was a AG, like a workshop, and it was called Kritisches Denken. And the main goal was to debate about topics that concern inner Muslim maybe challenges, and also to create a space for critical thinking, and also to have the possibility to debate in like a braver space or a safer space inside a Muslim community. And this all stems from a mosque association. As you know, in Germany, mosques are usually organized around a Verein, which is like a club or an association. And this one is called Münchner Forum für Islam. This particular mosque is a bit different from others that you might know in Germany, as the members, the congregation, do not have a specific country of origin. Oftentimes, that's it's historically in Germany often more Turkish or more Bosnian or Moroccan or whatever Muslim communities come together, and then they have their own association. In this particular mosque, this is different. It understands itself as a Muslim space for people in Munich, and has the sermons is always in German. The worship language is obviously Arabic, as that is in all of the mosques usually. And also what is quite unusual maybe here is that Shia and Sunni worshippers are welcome. That is not, this might not be so significant for us to hear that, but it is actually quite significant. Because usually there is a inner Muslim debate of if these two denominations can even pray together. The MFI, which is the Münchner Forum für Islam, is located in the city center in Munich, which is also quite convenient. You see on the right side here a little, how do you say, architectural buildings. the mosque initiative had quite a big campaign about 2-3 years to find fundraising and support for a central mosque, a representative central mosque in Munich. Unfortunately, this did not happen. It was unsuccessful, and it left a very, let's say, creative vacuum, because people who were very much behind that campaign and wanted to have finally not only a place of worship, but also a place of community and creative outlet, were eventually left with nothing. And this Kritisch Denken AG, which I talked about before this workshop, they were very much behind the movement to continue being creative and to continue to create something for the Muslim community. This is the MFE from the outside today. It's actually like a normal house. On the left hand, you see it from the outside. On the first floor, there is the prayers room. And then there's also a little office for the imam. And now, since a few years, on the ground floor, there is a restaurant, which is always open. Everyone can come in. There was actually a very pragmatic decision, because the rent for this house is enormously high, to put it in kind of words. And the association had to find a solution to sustain themselves, because they're mainly on Spendenbasis, so people donate, so it's mainly donations. So you see on the right side, you see the entrance of the restaurant, and yeah. This is the first floor. It has been renovated now, and this picture is very recent. And when we had intercultural iftar last month, so then we put up chairs, but usually it's without chairs. And yeah, so that's the prayer room on the first floor. So let's get into the ideas behind the festival, behind ausARTen. You all see my presentation, right? I would say one of the main priorities was to reverse the roles from guest to host, to not always be on a panel and be subject to a lot of questions about oneself, about like a lot of projections as well. And to choose topics and events around the topics that actually relate to their own communities, and to break a little bit the circle of what is maybe projected onto communities, onto Muslim and Jewish identities, and more finding the topics from inside the community. I started with a mosque because a lot of the topics that we chose throughout the years are relating to religious identities. I put identities in plural because there are many. And I think especially for my Muslim peers, let's put it that way, I'm not Muslim, but the people that are around me are mostly Muslim, their religious identities are seen as a threat often. Especially if maybe women decide to wear a headscarf, or men decide to wear traditional clothing or something like that. So we are often trying to find spaces where religious identities are not seen as a threat. Another really basic idea is that we are actually the experts on our lived experiences, and we will decide how to deal with these experiences. If that is in a creative way, or if that is in a more academic way, or if that is not to deal with it at all, but we want to have the decision on that and not be subject to someone else telling us how we should feel, how we should act, what is the best way to deal with these discriminatory experiences. We are a festival for Munich. That is also something that we feel very strong about, and that is also some reason why we have a lot of Munich-based partners, local theaters, local other initiatives, as we really believe that this could be something for Munich, and everyone is invited. And then maybe also the aspect of Jewish Muslim. So we are not a dialogue festival. We do not engage in dialogue activities, as we strongly believe that we already converse with each other all the time. For us, it's more like we work together and we create together, and we show up for each other. So I thought about a lot how to put it. So I put allyship is not an action. It's an action, not a feeling. I hope you understand what I mean with that. So what do we actually do? So the main festival is usually 2 weekends in autumn. Used to be October, now it's more November. We always try our best and make the money happen to have an exhibition. So the reason behind the exhibition is that we are an art festival, and we want to emphasize the changing of perspectives through art. So often we try to find artists who are also affected maybe by a migrational biography, or they have some religious identities that we find are like aligned with ours, or we also invited a very strong feminist artist a couple of years ago. So we try to find a mix. We usually have artists that are not super famous, as we are a small festival, but sometimes these artists go on and became very famous. So, so there is a good mix there. Accompanied by this exhibition are also events. There can be panels, readings. Often we have music, concerts, or comedy show. A couple of years ago, I did quite a lot of Jewish Muslim city tours as well. And then also workshops where it's more to actually be creative and get creative input. And that can be almost everything from theater to hip hop, music, calligraphy. Yeah, it's very important for us to stay in touch with other institutions throughout the city. So we have long-lasting relationships with institutions in Munich, and yeah. So the main aim is always to find the intersection between the art and then some interesting topic that stimulates us. Is it politics or something with society? Remembrance is also a big topic that we did quite often as well. So I thought maybe showing you a video, like just to get a glimpse into what we do. For that, I have to stop the Freigabe. I'm sorry. And do it again. So everyone sees YouTube. Let's hope you hear as well.
Ey, großartig. Also es ist ziemlich cool, welche Leute hier so sind. Das ist im Prinzip eigentlich so der Haufen, den wir so wahrscheinlich auch so in unserer Gruppe teilweise haben. Also da gibt es sehr viele Ähnlichkeiten. Also ich freue mich auf jeden Fall, dass wir eingeladen worden sind und hoffe natürlich, dass wir ein zweites Mal herkommen dürfen.
Dieses Jahr was ganz Besonderes, nämlich nur weibliche Künstlerinnen, jüdische und muslimische, aus der ganzen Welt. Hier zum Beispiel eine pakistanische Künstlerin. Und dann hier drüben, die Künstlerin ist heute sogar da. Die wird später noch auf dem Panel sprechen.
Okay, maybe up until here, it's in German, I apologize. But Nabila just said that we have different artists. This was 1 year, I think 2018, where we only had female artists, Jewish and Muslim. So as you see, these events actually happen on the ground floor of the mosque. So where now is the restaurant, we remove all the tables inside, and then we usually have our main base in the mosque. It depends also which topic. There are some topics which the board of the mosque is not so happy if we do it there, but we always try to find like a conversation, and sometimes it's also good to find another partner like a theater, because they have much more space, and then to do it there. But our main base is always the mosque. So let me get back to the presentation. And you probably ask yourself, how do we work and what is the team? So you see on this picture, it's I think it's this is everyone for this year's team. The team sometimes changes, but it's usually 7 to 8 persons from different backgrounds, religious, ethnic identities, are quite eclectic. They also have lots of different areas of expertise. So we have an architect there, we have a teacher, we have a journalist, a psychologist. Yeah, so it's really different people. We also work on volunteer basis, and that means many weekends, nights, and holidays. I just put it out there because sometimes people think we do it like as a paid job, and it's not a paid job. It's still like volunteer, and it's great. I love it. It's really good for me that it's volunteer basis. And as I said before, our aim is to organize at least one main festival in autumn, but we actually have several smaller events throughout the year. That is, as I mentioned it before, because we have quite a lot of alliances and cooperations with other partners, and then we have throughout the year we have several events. Everyone is always in charge of their own event or events. So if I come up with an idea and I say I want to invite musician XYZ, I am in charge of organizing it. Of course, everyone is there to support, but because we do not have a hierarchy, it's not such a hierarchical work. So we are in charge of our own events, but every event will be discussed as a group and with everyone. So that takes a lot of time, but we also want to include everyone, and there's always the possibility to say, I don't feel comfortable with this event, and then we won't do it. For example, there was the idea to do an event about manipulation in religion, slash abuse in religion. And after several hours of the debate, we decided to not do it because some of the people did not feel comfortable, including me. I thought we are not the experts on that and we shouldn't invite that. Maybe next year there is a possibility to do it, but this is how we work at the moment. So, of course, there are also challenges. as I already said, the topics, how to choose them, what are our priorities. Sometimes we put ourselves on the festival, we put under a title, and then everything has to relate to that. But usually we don't find a title because it's too complicated. We also have to deal with the expectations from outside as well as expectations from inside. And for that, I don't necessarily mean our team, the inside, but also inside the communities. We are part of the MFI. We are a project by the Münchner Forum für Islam. So we have an obligation to talk with the board about our events and explain to them what we do and why we do it. There has never ever been a veto by them. We always could do all our events, but still we have an obligation to tell them what we do. So I thought long about if and how to talk about changes after the 7th of October. I want to say that the expectations from outside changed drastically after the 7th of October. I think the projections were huge and are still huge up onto us, and how we have to do, how we're supposed to feel, or how we are supposed to deal with these events. And there was an ongoing debate on how much we should actually cater to the outside. We are not a festival that deals with the so-called Middle Eastern conflict. So sometimes we felt that also the projections from the outside were a bit wrong, because they're not like, we are not in Israel or in Palestine, but for sure we had to deal with it. So this also comes with visibility, and I put a plus and a minus there, because of course more visibility means more opportunities, such as this, which I'm very, very grateful for, to speak to such an international community as well. But it also comes with downsides, as we are more vulnerable with that, and when you're more visible, and we also have to answer more questions. And there's also a smaller aspect of security, as to when you're so visible and you have a strong opinion about certain topics, it comes with the downside of your personal security as well. Another challenge is obviously structure, money, partners. I could do another whole presentation about that, but yeah, we get a certain amount of money from the city since 1 year, which we are grateful about, but that also means that we have a lot more structural work to do, and we are actually not that equipped for it, because it's still on a volunteer basis. So I thought I would speak about two specific topics that we did. So in October 2020, we had a panel unterm selben Regenbogen, so under the same rainbow, and we invited 4 people, 2 from each community, Muslim and Jewish, 2 religious scholars, and 2 persons who are active in the LGBTQIA scene in their community. And we had a panel. For those who understand German, the panel is recorded and can be watched through YouTube. And we actually held this event in the Kammerspiele, which is one of the city theaters. And I have to say that it was one of the more nerve-wracking, but so rewarding events. After that, we got a message from a Muslim woman. She decided to open a braver space for Muslim homosexual women because of the talk, which was unbelievably strong of her and such a nice outcome. And we just had it was like a really nice conversation about very, very difficult topics. And I'm actually very proud that we did that. So, yeah. In 2021, on the background of another violent military action in Gaza, and also subsequently a huge anti-Semitic and anti-Muslim threats and attacks, we decided to publish an open letter from Jewish and Muslim initiatives. In the end, it was about 21 initiatives who joined, and it was under the hashtag "Wir lassen uns nicht trennen, we will not be divided." And the initiative started with one of our team members, Nabila, and then quickly after that we had quite a lot of support, and I think it was one of the first instances where like a national network was actually visible of Jewish Muslim initiatives. I mean, German-based initiatives, or at least if it's not explicit Jewish Muslim, but people who are in this sphere and try to work towards like a understanding and dialogue perspectives. The main two topics that were said in this open letter was we condemn anti-Semitism and anti-Muslim racism in any instance, and the second was there must be room for different attitudes towards the Middle East conflict. This is a very poor translation by me. I'm very sorry. In German, it looks much better, but the main goal was to open the space and not to close it, and to be brave enough to have difficult conversations and not say we will not talk with each other because of X, Y, Z. I have to add here that unfortunately, this was not repeated in October last year due to many different reasons. And one of the main reasons was that I think we were really tired and overworked, and we tried to save ourselves and to save our team, and there was no room to go because the pressure was 1,000 times stronger than in 2021. So this was not repeated last year. So this is where we are now. So we did a festival in November 2023. As I mentioned it now twice before, we had to find a balance between expectations from the inside, expectations from the outside. One thing that really helped us was our program was already set. I mean, the festival started, I think, on the 2nd of November or 3rd of November, I can't remember. And of course, our program was set already like in, well, September maybe, but we were not able to change it, and we were really reluctant to change it just because people expected us to change it. And I remember one very specific request to add a workshop with Jewish, like with Israeli and Palestinian women, and I was just, it was too much, and I said I can't do it. I have too much on my plate at the moment. If anyone else wants to do it, fine, but I'm not able to do it. There were new challenges. Protest is a big word. I think it was more like small resistance. We had some social media attacks, which we had in the past before. That's not that new. The demonstrations were something that we talked about a lot. Should we say something about it, not say something about it? But in the end, we actually stood, like, we were not actively engaging in any demonstrations, as we thought this is such a personal decision of if you want to go to demonstration or not. So we will not, as a group, say anything. I mentioned it before that we had to keep ourselves alive. Let's put it that way. So on a personal level, there was a great responsibility for each other and acting accordingly. So as you know, I'm of Israeli heritage as well. I was born in Israel. I have family in Israel, friends. People from the team actually bought me food. Because there was a time where I barely left the house and did not feel well that much. So there was the caring was very, very high, and also the checking in and respecting boundaries. I actually took a break from organizing for about 2 weeks, just to understand what's going on, and that was okay. Like, no one said anything. So what I noticed in our team is that we are constantly in conversation, even if it gets hard. And for example, we had a meeting last week, and we picked up conversations that we had in December and in January and in February. So there is a constant commitment to speak with each other and to have these difficult conversations without losing the trust in the other person. Like, I know that, like, not everyone will agree with everything, but it doesn't mean that I cannot trust them, or it doesn't mean that I cannot have a conversation with them. And I think what is really, really important for us as a curatorial team is to remind ourselves where our competencies lie. Like, we are not, only because we are affected by anti-Semitism or by anti-Muslim racism, we are not experts on Israel and Palestine. And this is something that we have to remind ourselves, because the outside world is actually saying something else. So we remind ourselves what is actually stuff that we want to do and what is our goal, and where can we find our competencies, and where can we ask for help as well and for support.